Good day everyone. Our next step is to connect the transmitter, receiver and the video telemetry system to our drone. Let's look at it step by step on how to do so. We now need to mount and power our receiver. Typically, this is run on 5 volts and are connected to the 5-volt positive and ground parts of your PDB. We then will have a signal wire that we will later send to the flight controller. If your receiver supports telemetry, you may have another wire for that. You'll notice that your receiver has one or two antenna wires coming out of your front end. Placement of these is critical to ensure that you get good signal and your quadcopter doesn't lose signal and drop out of the sky. Ideal placement for the two antennas is at 90 degrees to each other in a V shape. You want to aim to keep the ends of them as far away from the carbon as possible to prevent them getting blocked. The RC receiver itself can be located almost anywhere on the multirotor, except it is best not to place it too close to the wires which are carrying high current. The receivers included with the RC systems tend not to have any specific mounting method, so quality double-sided adhesive is the best option. The antenna, which is attached to the receiver, is usually a flexible wire. This wire should be located such that a wireless signal is not impeded while keeping it as straight as possible. Taping the receiver's antenna along a support arm or along landing gear are the best options. Connecting the transmitter. This is the remote control system that is needed to control a drone. There are various available RC control systems nowadays like Futaba, Spectrum, Turnigy, FlySky, and so on. In addition to the system, you'll also need a few channels for yaw, pitch, throttle, and roll, as well as additional channels if you want to mount a camera control to your drone for some aerial photography. You have to bind your receiver to the transmitter. This can be done at any time. However, some receivers have a dedicated bind button that can be hard to access later. Different transmitters have different methods of binding. However, they all normally involve powering on with the button held down and the transmitter itself in bind mode. Look at your transmitter manuals for the details. Our next step is to mount the camera and the VTX. Before we go powering up these components, it is a good idea to get them mounted first. Typically, cameras and VTX come with connectors for the wires, so we can simply plug them in once we have sorted out our soldering. Hopefully, your frame will have a designated space to mount the camera. If not, you can use little brackets that come with most cameras. To mount your VTX, you normally have to get a little more imaginative. Most frames do not have an obvious place to mount them, so it is really going to come down to where you have space and what you have to work with. My recommendation would be to use cable ties or double-sided tape to keep it secure either on the top or the bottom side part of the frame. The best way to power the camera and the VTX is off the PDB, as it allows for a neat connection to the flight controller. Now is the time to check the specs of your components, particularly the voltage inputs. Both the camera and the VTX should have two wires to power them, a positive and a negative. Your PDB should have some low voltage pads, just 5 volts or 12 volts, which you hopefully selected to match your other components. You should connect the positive red and the negative black wires to the matching pads. Two wires can share the same pad, which would have them running in parallel. The final thing to do is to connect up the video signal. This wire, which is typically yellow, should come out from the camera video out and directly into the VTX video in. For signal wires, you do not have to worry about the voltage and can splice the two wires together.